I have 2 items of film news for you guys, but Mike Ryan is insistent on giving us some breaking schedule news. Evidently, there's some breaking NFL schedule news.
Yeah, and it's big with a local audience here in South Florida.
Wow.
Both the big football teams involved. First off, game time for Florida, Miami has been announced. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, 3:30.
You say that's as big a University of Miami football game for the entire program as there's been in how long? Because now the program is all in on football, because football has to be great, because basketball did not capitalize on the momentum of making a couple of Elite Eights, and the basketball programs are a little more broken than they used to be.
Dan, when it comes to Miami athletics, I'm about as rational as one can get.
Yep.
But I'm also a student of history. And I know what it sounds like when I say these words. This is the most important football game in the history of the football program.
No pressure.
I feel bamboozled. I thought we were talking NFL.
When you consider the investment. We can have that conversation another day. Here's the real big news.
This is college schedule.
Yeah. But here's the real big news. Adam Schefter just shared the tweet.
Oh, I like that name.
This is the big news.
Amazon Prime just announced the first Prime football game of the season. Week 2.
Oh.
Bills Dolphins.
Wow.
Where?
I can't tell from the graphic.
Oh.
Well, Buffalo's above Miami in the graphic, which leads me to believe that Miami's the home team.
Unless you're in Europe.
You're right.
What happened,
Is it in
Chris?
Europe?
He just took the deepest breath I've ever heard, and you were away from the mic.
He's 2 feet away from the mic.
It's
when
just
he
Big
said
living,
news. It was
guys.
big
Greg,
news.
Greg, what's going on with
I
you
can't even
today?
breathe.
Because in
now.
soccer,
Jeez
the first team
Louise.
is the home team.
You're right.
Yeah,
It's the game in Europe.
You're right.
No one ever comments about my breathing until I come into the studio here.
Probably because there's a microphone in front
I
of
mean,
your
a
face.
man's got to live.
What are your initial thoughts? Week 2, Thursday night, TBD location.
It's in Miami. I've just gotten a breaking news.
Wow, look
like
at
that.
you into the schedule, huh?
Because they showed up second.
I
in
wanted to delight you guys. I wanted to tickle you a little bit.
And you did.
Now you get them on a Thursday night, so the heat doesn't come into play. The sun, none
Yeah,
of
but you
that.
know where
I
my
like
mind
that.
starts going when I see that little
I don't like
nugget?
that at
I'm like,
all.
okay, so if that game's at home week 2, what is the NFL going to do to the Dolphins come December?
That's
in
what I'm
Buffalo.
saying.
Wow, it's terrible.
It's a lose-lose.
This is why the schedule is exciting.
Terrible.
You lose the Heat, and now you have to go to Buffalo at the end of the season. It's
Bad,
terrible.
bad omen.
Oh,
Yeah, that's tough to play Buffalo that early
Yeah.
on a short week.
Yeah,
Very
but
difficult.
just like Billy said,
Short
like your,
week for both teams.
your advantage in September
yeah.
is the hot
and
sun.
now that's gone too because it's at night.
Right.
Big time. Early winners and losers of the schedule release leak. Dolphins are losers right
losers.
Guys,
now.
it
Yeah.
historically flip-flops. Like 1 year they play early in the season
No.
there. It's just like you
No,
guys are
sometimes
making
no.
this like a-
Take
Yeah.
your logic
No.
and get the out of here.
Sometimes,
Oh, man.
sometimes
Sorry.
you
Doesn't
can
work
usually
like
for
that.
cursing.
You want to mark that?
you can
there?
usually count on that, but not always.
There is very little chance that Chubb and Phillips will be ready. That is done. I am done with schedule talk. I've got
You
breaking.
liked it, though, admit it.
I did not.
That's a great Thursday nighter at the gates.
It's good content.
Now, in 21, they played Buffalo at home, the Dolphins did early in the season. I believe they did in 2022 as well. Chris, so you're wrong.
See, what I told you is you can't always count
It's every
on it.
2 years.
Early season measuring stick game. A who's who, if you will.
Okay.
Week 2.
And I know without the schedule coming out that they play twice a year. Please leave me alone on this.
But where and when?
But the
That's what we
sun-
find out.
Dan,
The
do you
elements.
remember what happened the last time Buffalo played a day game in Miami? Like there were 12 IV bags.
Ken Dorsey threw something at the camera. They forgot how time worked.
The
It was
sun
the whole
was making
thing.
people crazy.
Exactly.
And then he got fired.
That was the next season, but still, good point, Roy.
The heat is important when you talk about the fact that later this week in Miami, it's going to be 98, 99 degrees in the middle of May. We've had a blissful April, just charming. I couldn't believe how nice the weather was. But the end of this week brings horror of weather because it's going to be close to 100. And then we head into the hot stuff. So it is possible with climate change that wherever it is you put the Buffalo game against Miami, Buffalo will melt because our city is melting.
18 days till hurricane season, I believe.
I got my pack in the mail yesterday. Exciting time.
Why was it such a blissful spring down here? It was very mild. Was it the El Nino?
The Earth's up to something.
Well, I can't call it the El Nino because that's basically saying the Nino.
Right. Redundant.
Yeah.
I have 2 breaking bits of film news. Are you ready? Because the second one's going to get you guys very excited. I don't think you guys know the second one. You may know the first one. But the story of an aging and down on his luck private investigator in 1930s New York who is forced to grapple with his past life as the city's one and only superhero, Noir, is coming to MGM Plus and Prime Video, starring Nicolas Cage.
Now, which one's an MGM Plus? I did not have this one on my docket. There's an MGM Plus? I got to get MGM Plus now?
I have no idea.
I don't have MGM Plus. I've never heard of
Well,
MGM.
guess
Are
what?
you getting it now?
You're going to be paying $13.99 a month for it in like 2 weeks.
It's existed since 2008.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, it used to be known as Epics with
is
an
that,
X.
That's
Yeah.
what. Okay.
The other bit of news that I do not think you guys know, Roadhouse 2 is in the works. Starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is it
Gyllenhaal?
I think it's.
it's
I think it's like a
Gyllenhaal.
J.
You guys
sound.
correct me
This
on
is
that every
cousin.
time.
Gyllenhaal.
It's
you,
a tough one.
you guys,
like a medicine.
you guys liked.
Loved.
Put it on the
Loved.
poll at Le Batard Show. Is Gyllenhaal a medicine with many side effects?
I really liked the first Roadhouse. I thought it was a great popcorn movie. Thought Conor McGregor did a great job. Who would have thunk he could just really test his acting limits the way that he did?
Yeah.
Good action, a little too much CGI for my liking, but nice little nods to the keys. I'm excited about this.
Was it necessary? I mean, the first one was so good. It was perfection.
Neither one of them.
Which one are you talking about? The
necessary.
Gyllenhaal one or the Swayze one?
The Swayze one, of course.
I mean, they were both good. This one was good, man.
Yeah,
It became popular
It's a
to
good
hate on it.
storyline, right.
That was Dan. You watched it, right? Now you can have your issues with it, but you weren't not having fun at any point while watching it, were you?
I watched the first 70 minutes and thought it was terrible, and then circled back around after you guys yelled at me. And at the end of the movie, it was more laughably ridiculous. And if you're tuning in for just sheer absurdity at every turn, then I suppose I can understand how it is that you would watch this. I will not watch the second one. I'm surprised that Gyllenhaal has signed up for another one of these. I was surprised that he signed up for the first, but he clearly did it to get in shape and as homage to the first one, whatever it meant to him in his childhood. I can't believe he's doing a second one. This is one of the actors in Hollywood. I don't know who you guys choose here, but Ethan Hawke for me, or Ewan McGregor. There are a handful of actors that I trust their choices, and Gyllenhaal is somebody who generally makes good choices, and here he's just entertaining himself.
Well, he's afforded that. Because he makes all the other great art house pictures and stuff like that. He's a very talented actor, but also look at that physique. You can't be hiding that behind a T-shirt.
So
You
wait,
gotta
we have
show
him-
that puppy.
Do we have him taking that role to get in shape? Like he
Yeah.
couldn't
That's crazy.
afford.
That's how
a
famous people
trainer?
do
Just
it.
get in
Chris.
shape.
Couldn't he
Why
just
does
have a
he-
trainer?
No,
afford
no,
one, can't he?
No.
He
You-
can't?
You need them. No, you need to take a
Oh.
role to do something. Did you see what Jason Bateman looked like recently? He was sitting next to Michael J. Fox. Everyone was shocking, like, "Oh, what is he doing? He's just training for a role."
But that's a blanket statement. You're saying all actors do that. They'll take a role to get in shape. Some
yeah,
actors will just get in
why
shape
just
because
get
they
a
wanna get in
trainer?
shape,
Well,
you
I
know?
can have the studio pay for my trainer.
That is true.
Oh, yeah, J.K.
You need
Simmons. probably.
incentives.
So you're saying
Yeah.
Jason
You'll pay
Bateman
for it.
just wanted to look like a wolf, so he took a role where he could do that.
That was actually cool. I didn't even catch the Teen Wolf aspect of him being in the same frame as Michael J. Fox. Good on you. I know that was your intention there.
For sure.
No, but actors generally let their facial hair and hair grow because they want to be ready for whatever Hollywood throws at them.
I wish someone would pay me to look like or to look good.
I feel like we are.
I am.
I want to accuse Le Batard of oddball behavior. Who invests 70 minutes in a movie and then decides, you know what, I don't like this enough, I'm going to stop watching? It's like reading 150 pages of a novel and then quitting on the book.
Totally
you don't
fair.
do that.
Yeah, once you get to 70 minutes, you're in.
Oh, I've
ridiculous.
bailed on books. Bailed on books.
After 100 pages?
The
though?
Wickersham one? Are you kidding me? I saw the time left on this. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
You're not reading books, though. I mean,
Yes, I
Audiobook,
am.
right?
they're audio books.
I'm reading audiobooks.
You're
Yeah,
bailing on
yeah,
audio.
We're not having this conversation again, but I
Because
bailed on
you're
that
Some
book.
kind of bail.
You don't want to have that conversation because you're self-conscious. You know I'm right.
What are you talking about? You just put a book down and you put it back on the shelf, and you're like, oh, I bet you have dozens of books in your bookshelf that you put a bookmarker in saying you'll get back to that you just never got
No,
around to.
that's false. I investigate a book before I invest in it.
Roy, can you please look up for us, because we had this poll question recently where we asked people, do you ever bail on a movie if you're halfway through it, or are you the type of person that has to finish it? I am not. I think I came out in the minority. I am not a person who has to finish stuff. I rarely get into 70 minutes of a movie that bad as the original Roadhouse, but I tried to stay with it for the idea of it might produce some things that we could talk about here that would be funny, that our audience would be interested in.
You ended up liking it, didn't you?
No, I mean, no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't
No.
typically do that. Usually I start a movie, and no matter what, I'll finish it so I can have a full opinion on the picture. This happened to me recently with that Bob Marley biopic. I don't think I'm going back. It was just straight up bad. How can you screw that up?
Mike, I find it hard to believe that the Marley pick is worse than Roadhouse. That has to be about your expectations.
Oh, yeah, no. If Marley started fighting, that would save it.
No, the Marley pick was bad.
I
I
didn't
actually
like
saw
it.
it. I bailed inside of 30 minutes.
Roadhouse, the Roadhouse remake was bad.
No,
as
it wasn't.
well.
No, it was bad if you're going for like an award or something. It had a mission. Let's have two ripped dudes just go to town let's fight each other in the Keys, and they did that.
Put it on the poll, please. Was the Roadhouse remake bad? I have seen that Gyllenhaal's workout regimen for this is something that Men's Fitness and others have grabbed because it was a very rigorous workout regimen. And I would say, Billy, that the blessing in something like this is to have both the goal of being super ripped off across from Conor McGregor in a movie, and also have the studio pay for you to get into monster shape that can be on the cover of muscle magazines. That is a reason to enjoy 8 months of making a silly cotton candy movie and getting, a six-pack.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not impressed, though. I mean, you want to get in shape on your own.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's cheating, really.
Right. It is.
And also,
And he probably did steroids. What?
They did all sorts of stuff. They do all sorts of stuff.
Not me.
They do all sorts of
I
stuff.
didn't say that.
His hair really isn't that dark.
What?
Roy, what did the audience say? I'm assuming I'm in the minority and being someone who will not finish a movie once I've gotten 70 minutes in.
After 4,180 votes, the answer is yes at 70.1%.
What is the question?
The question is,
Good
if
question.
you get halfway through a movie, do you feel obligated to finish it?
And the answer is yes at what
yes
percent?
at 70.1%.
I thought the yes was I leave a movie, so
Yeah.
it's the opposite of that.
Good follow-up,
A
Dan.
very odd way for Roy to do all of that, I would say, to
I
just
apologize.
give us the yes and not the question.
it's like,
like Jeopardy.
Yeah, it's like Jeopardy or Yoda.
What is yes?
I'd like to put up on the screen here real quick for people so that we can devour it, a recent photograph of Pablo Torre. I want to ask the group here what they think of what Pablo is trying to achieve
So
here
cute.
with bowling shoes and what can only be described as Mr. Rogers fashion gear.
Is he preparing for a role?
I don't know what he is doing there.
Is he bowling?
Is he on Broadway? What the hell's going on here?
It does feel, it feels a little Broadway. It feels a little bowling. The hand on the hip, it feels theatrical.
Little people's eyebrow.
I'm not going to have a go at someone else's style. I just couldn't do that.
Pablo Torre Finds Out is the name of the podcast. He is doing excellent work. I ask the group here and I ask the audience to take some inventory about what Greg Cody came in complaining about today that I was not expecting. It's something that caught me off guard, even though Greg Cody, I would say, is a Hall of Fame complainer. Greg Cody came out publicly
First ballot.
in indignance against the U-turn.
Yeah.
Yui.
I think it's because the U-turn caused me to miss a light a couple of days ago when the line was very long. And if I'm like 12 cars behind, so I'm already praying for a long turn signal to make my light. And there's 4 or 5 cars ahead of me, all taking a U-turn, which is very slow. When you're taking a U-turn, people slow down too much. They don't take it on 2 wheels. They slow down, slows down traffic. I miss my light because so many people are taking a U-turn. A U-turn is selfish. Look, I understand.
I used to live somewhere where I had to make a U-turn
I
to
understand
get to my
that.
house.
I remember. But here's what else you could have done.
Move.
Here's what else. No,
That means your
move.
dad had to as well, right?
Well, you did.
No, here's what else you could have done. Instead of taking that U-turn, you could have taken a left into that development and then turned around in there and taken a right. You
Wait,
didn't
what?
have to take a U-turn.
You're wrong right now. I don't know what
No.
you're talking
Nope.
about.
No.
Can we
I'm
just
not
stay
wrong.
on point, please? Let's
Two
not
lefts
get
equal a
let's not get
U-turn.
caught in the weeds
was
on
saying-
what's happening around your son's house.
You take the long way, is what you're saying. You
Yes.
didn't have to
Yeah.
take a U-turn.
Yeah,
It's a shortcut.
put in the
but
effort.
Selfish.
Put in the effort. Quit taking shortcuts. You know, people take U-turns willy-nilly. You know, it's a bad thing to do. It's dangerous. 40% of pedestrian deaths
Made up.
in America are directly attributable to
You're
U-turns.
just
You should
making
not
that
So
up.
laugh.
you started
dude.
laughing at that.
Just
laugh
making
at
that
that.
up.
You know,
That's
I'm
not-
estimating, but
Yeah.
I'm not making it up.
Look
Well,
it up.
just hold on a
Someone
second.
look it
Hold
up.
on.
Do you know what making it up means?
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless.
All right, don't
Here is
take
something we like to
U-turns.
call reckless speculation.
You're good, Greg.
Thank you. I mean, look it up.
So what do you?
How do you make? Oh,
So you just want a 3-point turn in its place, or no turns whatsoever? You
No,
exit.
take the long way. His thing is you don't make a U-turn. You're not allowed to do that. Just take the long way, even if all you have is U-turns.
They often encourage U-turns. Sometimes this sign says, "Hey,
You want it banned?
Take a U-turn
Greg.
here.
You want it banned.
I would ban U-turns.
Yeah.
Because a U-turn is never necessary. It's a convenience.
Right.
It's a shortcut, but it's rarely, if ever, absolutely necessary.
practice what you preach."
Because normally, I don't.
Oh,
take
you-
U-turns.
You don't take U-turns.
Come on,
Oh,
Greg.
shut up.
Greg.
You don't. You don't take.
You're an
I don't
abstainer.
U-turn.
I will tell you
don't
what
do
Greg
turns.
does, because every once in a while when I'm driving down on a Tuesday, I see Greg Cody in that beautiful Corvette that he has. And what Greg loves to do, he shoots the gap better than anyone I've ever seen.
Thank you.
What he really loves to do is tailgate.
Yeah.
He loves to tailgate. He is right on people's bumpers.
I am.
He's drafting.
I watched him today do it.
He
It was
doesn't want
amazing.
people.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anyone getting in front of him.
Never.
He's the guy that will like get up on the person in front to not let somebody in.
Right.
Yeah, but if you go out of
Cheaters
your
never prosper.
Exactly.
If you go out of your way to get in front of Greg Cody, meaning you do something dangerous, there's an expectation that comes with that. Don't get in his lane and then drive slow.
Right.
Drive fast, because Greg wants to drive
Yeah.
fast. Yes.
I tooted my horn on the way to the studio today because the person ahead of me was not tailgating sufficiently.
Right.
So people were cutting in front of him. And everybody's trying to cut in here. You don't let them. You know, it's not being mean not to do that. It keeps the traffic flow going.
Yep.
If everyone tailgated like me, the traffic flow would go much better. If nobody U-turned, the traffic flow would go much better. You spend an hour and a half driving 20 miles in South Florida. It's ridiculous. So you got to keep the flow going. I'm trying to do my part. Others aren't. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
Put it on the poll. Have you ever considered banning the U-turn? Billy, you seemed worried when this segment first began. You had the look of concern on your face, and then you started roaring with laughter afterward because I think you thought Greg Cody was headed somewhere else.
Well, I was worried where that may be going.
Anytime he opens his trap, I'm worried.
Yeah,
that
you never
mean?
know.
Where that's going.
And you were kind of setting him up, and I was worried where you may be setting. Because, sometimes
You never
you're the
know.
guy that likes to
Yeah.
put the leaves over the hole and hope that Greg steps in the hole.
Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah.
the truth?
A very vivid picture that is also accurate.
Leaving a manhole uncovered, hoping I'll fall down it.
Well, in
Dug up by woodpeckers.
Thank
in
you.
the spirit of all of that, I would say that the look on your face, I'm doing Billy translations here, suggested to me that you were concerned with the general take that Greg Cody walked into the room today with as the WNBA season starts.
I don't recall the take.
Yeah.
The take was free Gregg Doyle.
The rare.
The rare free Gregg Doyle.
There's the hole.
Wow.
There is the hole
we're here.
with the leaves. That is correct. I still have to get to this Butker story. I've got to read the story
we don't have to.
during one
I've
of
seen a
these
couple of
breaks.
tweets. What is
Yeah.
going on with their special teams unit over there in Kansas City?
I have to read this story. I need to get to this story. Was this during a commencement speech?
Yeah.
All right. So,
awful.
I mean, it's not.
You know
that
what? You're right. Let's stay there.
It is. It is
It's like
awful.
Andrew Tate did a commencement speech.
There was a commencement speech last week that we played on Friday that it was a guy trying to sell Bitcoin.
Oh, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought in. By the way, GameStop's back. Halted.
Video, do me the favor of getting. We didn't get to this story a couple of weeks ago, but Gregg Doyle, who I think is the biggest newspaper columnist in Indianapolis, he handled the press conference of Caitlin Clark being introduced to the Fever, and her debut is tonight, pretty terribly in a way that made a whole lot of people recoil. And there's going to be some stumbling around here from men as we try to figure out how to catch up with the times and all of us correct behaviors and inequities from a long time ago that aren't acceptable anymore, even though Butker is at a commencement speech saying evidently that women should stay in the kitchen. But Gregg Doyle handled a press conference with Caitlin Clark in a way that made a lot of people cringe, a lot of people uncomfortable, and he was punished by his newspaper. He was suspended. He wrote a column that made it worse, saying he was sorry. He was suspended from his newspaper, and evidently, and I don't know if this is indefinite, if this is forever, but he's not allowed to cover Indiana Fever games, which is a hell of a penalty to start Caitlin Clark's career if you're the local columnist, and she's going to be the biggest star in your market and a phenomenon. And holy hell, what a mistake when that's the punishment. Greg Cody is not saying free Gregg Doyle in general, but he wants something between those penalties, not both of those penalties. He wants that to be softer. And I thought that there would be better days to do that than a day when there are no women here. But I suppose there are leaves over the hole. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. First of all, I'm barely a casual acquaintance of Gregg Doyle's, so this isn't me sticking up for a buddy.
He worked at our newspaper a long time ago. He started his career at the Miami Herald.
Right. As many did, now that I think about it. What he did was cringeworthy. It was sexist. It was creepy. It was juvenile. He deserved to be suspended for a couple of weeks. He deserved that. But I don't believe what he did was a journalistic felony. I believe it was a dumb misdemeanor. But it's a felonious penalty when you tell the lead columnist in a city welcoming its new big star that he can't write about her indefinitely. I wouldn't stand for that. If the Miami Herald tried to tell me that and the role was reversed, I would use whatever leverage I have to say that's not standing with me. You need to threaten to quit. You need to make a mess of this if you need to.
You think that's a good idea? Are you crazy?
No.
You would threaten to quit the newspaper?
Yes. They can't tell me what I can cover and what I can't cover because I misspoke at an introductory
that was not
press conference.
Greg, that was not
poor judgment.
That was not
It was poor judgment.
That was not misspeaking. Let's listen. This is
Can't
not.
they as the employer too?
This is not misspeaking, Greg.
Hi, Caitlin. Gregg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
Doing the heart signal.
You like that?
The heart signal
I like
he's
that you're
doing
here.
with his hand.
I like
Yeah,
that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well,
pretty
let's
cool.
start doing it to me, and we'll get along just fine.
Ouch.
So, question is.
Terrible. I'm not defending any of that. Don't put me in the category of defending that. I'm not. What I'm saying is it didn't merit telling him you can't write about Caitlin Clark ever again. And I'm just saying that wouldn't fly with me.
In your mind, what should the penalty be? You're saying it should be something, just not a full season.
Okay, he's been suspended a couple of weeks without pay, I understand. I think that's perfectly fair. He's written a mea culpa column, which to me seemed reasonably sincere. I think there's contrition there. I think if it were me, I would make sure that I had a private meeting with Caitlin and apologize to her directly. And from that point
And
over,
the shame is also punishment.
The shame is punishment indeed. And from that point on, unless Caitlin Clark is so upset that she backs what's happening, if she's in a forgiving mood, I think the rest of us should be, and there should be a clean slate in Indianapolis.
Woof! And you would threaten to quit.
Yeah.
And would you quit?
I think I would. Keep in mind, I'm at a point in my career when I'm already plotting retirement anyway, so me quitting
This is the new
right now
and
would
improved Dan Le
be
Batard
7
Show with the
seconds, by the way.
Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Perhaps it was obvious to you guys, given his age and general state. He's been coughing for 5 years here, although thankfully it's gotten a lot better in recent years. But Gregg Cody just announced something that I've never heard him say before, ever. Plotting retirement. Now, maybe that would be obvious to the rest of you, but he has been reluctant about admitting it for a long time. I do not hear that word come out of his mouth. He is probably the most long-standing member of the Miami Herald, not just the sports department, just no one's had more years presently working at the Miami Herald, I don't think, than you have.
Currently, I think you may be right.
Are there people at other papers that have been there long? I feel like you could be in the top
question.
5, like, of all papers in the United States.
I know. He's top 5%. Top. I don't
Certainly
know. If
sports writers.
I don't know.
Sports.
Well, I just think
Is
that
Kornheiser still writing?
no, he is not.
Okay.
I think that. Well, maybe you are. You've been how many years?
I never know how to answer that because I worked like 7 years part-time as I
16 you were hired, no?
Yeah.
Well, you should count.
Just since when?
You should count the part-time years.
Yeah, just say I've been with the Herald since.
Well, my first byline was 1972. I was full-time in 1978 or 9. I can't recall.
I don't know why you're making a distinction between part-time and full-time. They paid you beginning in 72. That means that you have been there for 28 years plus 24, so that is 52 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Man.
You got 22 to go if you want to catch Sid Hartman.
Okay.
He's still writing in Minneapolis? There's no way he's
Well,
still
no, he
writing.
just has the record. He may not be with us anymore.
I was going to ask, but I was afraid of the $50 fine.
I
I'm
said
not
May.
Sure.
I said May.
I want you, Hartman.
You're saying Hartman was with his paper longer than anyone's been with their paper in the history of papers?
Amongst the yes, that's what a quick Google search told me, but it could be wrong.
He died in 2020.
I think Edwin Pope was with the Herald longer than I have.
Edwin Pope, I thought of him just last night, the former sports editor of the Miami Herald, because he had a great move. And the reason I thought about it is LeBron getting those seats last minute notice. Those seats are hard to come by, and he gets the best seats. And, of course, he would get the best seats. But Edwin Pope would show up at a hotel, and if it was sold out, he would get mad, and he says, "You mean to tell me that if the president of the United States shows up here, you guys don't have a room for him?" And then the answer would be, "No, of course, sir." "Well, then give me his. He's not coming." Would be the move that an old Edwin Pope would fire at the front desk.
That's perfect.
You're saying it's hard to get those seats. It's not hard if you're LeBron James. If LeBron just walks up to the Mecca tonight, right?
Sit wherever he wants.
He'll sit courtside. He'll sit center court.
I understand, Stugotz. I'm just saying that those tickets are hard to come by last minute, and I would be interested in what scurrying takes place back behind the scenes when people who aren't quite as famous as LeBron, but also Bruce Springsteen, want seats at the last minute. And what do you do? Where is the line on where you don't have seats because other people want seats? I don't know the answer to that question. I'd be interested in finding out how people get turned away in those situations.
You have to think it was not a spontaneous arrival. You know, that LeBron's people called the Cavs people a week ago and said he's going to be in for this.
But what
blah,
if
blah,
it
blah.
weren't?
Do you guys have Josh Cabernet from 2021?
What if it weren't is the interesting hypothetical in my mind, whether somebody like LeBron could just show up that day and expect to walk over to public relations and
They're
say,
saying they only have J-Lore.
It would have been hilarious if he was like in section 128, row 7. No, we got an end seat for you, LeBron.
I have told you guys over the last couple of years that all the public stuff about Tyreek Hill makes me think that there's no way that he's so unlucky that every bad thing or wrong thing that he's doing, we're learning about, that it suggests the amount of incidents suggests a general recklessness in your life that is uncommon if that much of it is spilling into public. And I bring it up because of the last couple of years of Rashee Rice. Super Bowl champion. If you want to see some of the things that have become public that would suggest to you that there is a bit of messiness around him that is problematic and has largely and quietly been eradicated from this sport. I came down hard on how Roger Goodell made himself emperor of rules to clean up all of the arrests and the bad behavior in his sport when he had a public relations nightmare of Pac-Man Jones getting in trouble everywhere. He cleaned that up with such firm discipline on the employees and unprecedented penalties that you don't think this way about football anymore. You may do so athletes in general, but you don't think anymore that the NFL has an arrest problem, that the NFL has a crime problem. There might be an occasional Ray Rice or something here and there that grabs your attention, but this is not a blanket over the sport the way it was when we looked at the Bengals and it was Chris Henry and Pac-Man Jones and we're like, what the hell's the matter with that team? How is it that nobody can stay out of jail?
Well, the penalties are so stiff because of Roger Goodell that players aren't doing it, obviously, nearly as much. Are you apologizing to Roger Goodell? Or?
I got it wrong.
Okay.
I got it wrong that was so heavy-handed and so unprecedented that it violated the rules, I thought, of the collective bargaining agreement, that he should be with his partners, not fighting his partners on that. But he wanted to clean up the image, and it did work. It didn't work immediately, but it did work. But in spite of that, I bring you the last couple of years of Rashee Rice. This is from ML Football. Reportedly involved in a shooting over a girl with friends. Fired 5 agents since his last game in college, according to sources. Negotiated his own rookie contract, per source. Set the NFL rookie record for playoff receptions in January. Won the Super Bowl. Hit and run, major accident in March, faces 8 felonies. That was with a bunch of luxury cars all under his name that apparently were racing. And it's after the Ruggs stuff, where the lesson is very recent on how you can throw away everything driving fast because you're a young person who thinks he's bulletproof. Arrest warrant issued in April, and then allegedly punches a photographer in May. That's a good amount of stuff to be public, and I'm guessing that we don't know just of all the bad in his life. There's just a recklessness there that seems a bit unsafe.
Teams knew, because as he was starting to come online last season when Kansas City needed a receiver to step up, I was wondering aloud, why did this guy go so low? Personnel guys knew all these things that were around him. That's when I found out about the car incident that happened in college. Yeah, no, it's impossible to keep secrets these days from these folks.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs are taking all sorts of chances. This might be the opportunity to talk about Harrison Butker, but their special teams unit just shows you, like, these guys don't even see the field really all that much anyway.
They took a chance with Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But when you credit Goodell, the reason it's working is that the players' union went along with these penalties, which a lot of people didn't agree with.
Well, they fought a lot of them. They fought a lot of them in court. They didn't collectively bargain what the penalties were. They were fighting them case by case basis because they were trying to keep the precedents from being set.
And he still finds himself in a bit of a pickle in that everything is open to his POV on things. There's no real textbook. What does a rule book say about? Is it 25 allegations? Is it 32? And that's where he seems to be making up the rules as he goes along. But I think, as Dan pointed out, that's a better option than what we had before.
There's no question that it got fixed. Like, this league had a legitimate problem where we were spending off seasons talking about the NFL's image problem. I read the other day that basketball was bringing back the dress code for coaches. Is that an accurate report?
I hope so.
In the NBA, do you?
I hope so. This is where I find myself with Chris Whittingham here. There's just, I like the coaches in suits. I just like the coaches in suits.
I agree.
And I won't apologize for it. There, I said, man, that's a relief.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Do you like the coaches in suits at Le Batard Show?
Everyone looks like Bob Huggins out there. Let's have some pride.
I like Spo in the polo.
No.
No? Well, guess what? You're going to love Spo back in a suit.
Just basketball coaches, right?
Just basketball coaches.
Yes.
I don't know if it's because I grew up around Pat Riley looking like $1 million.
That's the reason.
$1 million bucks. Armani.
Yep.
Put the baseball managers in suits. That's where you get my attention.
Really?
Yes.
That would be funny.
Yep. I'm serious. Like
Middle of
Connie
the
Mack.
Connie Mack.
But then they walk out. They walk out to the home plate for the meeting, and they get like clay in their shoes.
Yeah, well, you're wearing a wingtip.
I just can't. Where it bothers me the most, this is going to sound stupid, but where it bothers me the most is I can't tell the assistants apart from the trainers. I don't follow the sport that closely enough, and I'd like to. I'd like to know if someone's whispering something in a player's ear, whether or not that's an assistant or just like a towel guy.
Dan, another question that's coming. Connie Mack was born in 1862.
Yeah.
I mean, let's reel it back.
He died in 56.
Can we isolate, please, Greg Cody's? You're wearing wingtips, like a car. It sounded like a car trying to start. You're
Model
wearing
T.
wingtips.
Okay.
What do you guys feel about the? Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys feel about the coaches wearing suits?
Well,
because I
agree with you.
It bothers me. It bothers me, and I understand why you want to go comfort and COVID. Just like it was a Pandora's box.
Yeah. If I were a coach, I'd prefer to be able to throw 7 sets of sweats in the luggage and just go and not have to worry about ironing or dry cleaning or dress shoes or anything like
They're
that.
not doing that.
I'd
They have
rather
a whole team of people that handle all that for them.
I want the coaches in uniform. The NBA coaches. That would be
good.
With a number and everything.
Yep.
Wow.
I think if I wore a suit and I was a coach, like in the NBA with the wooden floor, I'd wear tap shoes to make sure you get your players' attention.
I like
then
that.
you don't even have to screen that much. You just
You can call a play with a
and
tap
then-
sequence.
Exactly
Call a
right.
play.
You
That's
can almost
inspired.
like Morse code.
What a great
know
idea.
what's going on. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
It'd be like
Great
the
idea.
sideline report would be like, "Holy Popovich, you really tapped the hell out of that
Like
sequence."
touching his elbow while tap dancing.
Michael Flatley would be one of my assistant coaches.
So just a Morse code, though, that's unique to your team, right? Because you can't have them be expert and fluent in tapping as well. And they know how to
Well, there'd be
defend
tap
you.
class as well. Yeah, they know. Because you want to have, now it's complicated because how do you have tap sneakers when you change the play on the
Look, that's for the league
on the
partners
court? Exactly.
to figure out
Yeah.
why Savion Glover's calling the 2.
Connie Mack lost nearly 4,000 games as a manager.
I really do hope that Juju clips. You guys heard Greg Cody just throw his phone on the table as we started, right?
Yeah,
Spike did it. Almost sounded
Greg
like.
has been loud today, away from the microphone. Loud when I didn't need him to be. Quiet when I do need him to be loud.
Mm-hmm.
It is a Greg Cody Tuesday in full force, and we need to clip and send to the masses Greg Cody getting out there with one of the hotter takes I have seen, which is if the Gregg Doyel situation happened to him, he would send the flames roaring into the sky and create a giant political division between the genders in America today by being a freedom fighter on behalf of I don't know what, because he would quit if the newspaper told him that he couldn't cover the Fever games, and he would become somebody who would become weaponized by the right wing as somebody who's fighting for the America of yesterday, the correct America, the America that men deserve to have, one of free speech. And what are you getting mad about?
I mean, you're
He's saying you would be
Well
weaponized.
said. Well said. I get it. I've been there.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the right side of this. I'm on the side of sanity. I'm not trying to. It's not a backward opinion. I'm throwing out here.
Greg, I do see your argument absent context, but Gregg Doyel, there was a history there. I think you stake your reputation against Greg's reputation. It goes differently for you.
Okay.
Like you make your public apology, and I think you've bought enough in the court of public opinion that people would give you a pass on that one. Gregg Doyel's got a sordid history. And I mean, even Dave Portnoy had a go at Gregg Doyel. I mean,
It's a body of work thing.
Yeah,
Mike
the
is right.
unlikeliest people came out against Gregg Doyel's body of work.
I believe I prefaced it by saying what he said was juvenile and sexist and a bunch of other
Greg,
words.
but I just like
and he deserved the
Greg,
suspension.
Yes, you did say all of that, and I'm just laughing at the idea of the whole thing getting so much worse because Greg Cody is someone who can be stubbornly right, but also takes a minute to give up on stubbornly wrong. And so, because he'd be fighting his newspaper, he would get caught up in the whirlwind of threatening to end his career at the end over a principle, and he would absolutely be turned into a political talking point. He would become a symbol for an assortment of things that we argue about today.
In fairness to Gregg, and shocking to no one because he didn't think his take all the way through, he said, I would quit, pause, I think.
No, but we pressed him on it, and I am just enjoying the way arguing goes with Greg Cody and me over, 40 years is. Even if he's wrong, he's going to try and argue for a long time that he's not, and then he'll come around days later. Now I want you to imagine Greg Cody's career going up in flames over this because he's quit at the end. It's 50 years of service at the paper. He's fighting for free speech, I guess, but he seems to be against women. What he's saying is...
Wait, time out.
No,
time out.
Whoa.
Time out.
This is just what people are saying, hypothetically.
Right.
Greg, I'm not saying it about you. I'm saying
I know you care about women.
You've just had what happened with Gregg Doyle. I'm not saying you actually don't care about women. I'm saying you've just had the...
You did just say that.
Greg,
But
He
this
did-
is...
He didn't say
As
it.
Greg
Hypothetically.
said,
Yeah.
as
If you were
Greg
just
Doing the
Doyle-
words getting out of his mouth.
If you were just
confusing.
tuning
Yeah.
in then, you would be confused by it. But
It's
this is the
odd.
hypothetical that he
Yeah, I
laid
don't
out.
know what
Yes.
we're doing.
By the way, I do think body of work matters.
You ever back in my day?
But let's just say this happened to you.
Panthers.
I think you'd lay your shield down the second you got a phone call from Armando Salguero.
as an ally.
Greg, I agree with you.
As you get so many allies. Greg,
I don't know what Armando Salguero has to do with this.
You don't get this.
Okay. Stain has a website that has an assortment of Stains doing the political work of
You'd
the
be
far right
weaponized.
in sports, and you would turn into a freedom fighter for those people. Let me go back because I know I hurt your feelings. We have long
Well,
established on this.
you've misrepresented me.
Well, hold
let
on.
me
Hear him out.
finish.
Just hear him out for a second.
Just let me finish, please, because you have said on the show, and we've heard you here before, that you are a lover of women and an advocate for women, and your wife is the greatest person in the world, and we all know what you believe here. I'm saying, hypothetically, you have exactly the controversy that Gregg Doyle finds himself in, which, whether you believe it's against women or not, Gregg Doyle is now buried under. This guy doesn't know how to deal with women. He's getting buried under a controversy that's no longer about him. It's about the symbol that he becomes as we argue about during the gender wars, the culture wars, the race wars, everything that's going on. And so the idea of you stubbornly ending your career that way, with that as the hill that you die on at the end. Hey, this is a journalistic misdemeanor. It shouldn't be a felony. I want my God-given First Amendment free speech right to speak freely about
The WNBA.
WNBA. I want to cover it. I want to cover the WNBA. That's a funny mountain for you to
Okay,
die on
I
at
have
the
no
end.
idea why you're saying that with a eating grin. And I'm surprised, as a former journalist, that you don't respect what I'm talking about in the point I'm trying to make, which is that I have never in 50 years been told, not that, as long as I've been a columnist since the early 90s, I have never been told what I can and cannot write. I have never been banned from writing about a particular subject. In this case, I think Gregg Doyle is totally guilty. I think he deserves to serve the suspension he's serving. But I don't think what he did deserves to have a lifetime ban from doing his job properly in Indianapolis. And if my newspaper is not going to let me do my job properly, I'm not going to work for that newspaper anymore. That's all I'm saying. If I were Gregg Doyle, I would threaten to quit, and I would quit with my head held high.
But, Greg, consider the body of work that we're talking about.
I don't want to argue that part. I just
Thank you
want
for taking all the fun out of this.
I want to find the humor in what it is
Well,
that
he's not finding it
The way that
humorous.
Greg laid it out, I side with you. And I do think that fentanyl is a huge issue that we should do something about as well.
Greg, Greg, your argument on behalf of what it is, and that was a nice cut there as a former journalist. It was I have clearly,
right.
I have hurt Gregg Doyle.
It was a bar.
It was. As a former journalist.
I would think
you.
Yes.
Most people would have heard eating grin and moved on.
Yeah.
But the bar there was former journalist.
Yes.
that was with intent.
I know. It
we
was
know.
no, and it was funny that you got this way about this subject matter. The thing that I'm trying to accentuate is your career ending that way, head held high, and then Arlene coming over to you
Stubborn.
4 days later. Hey. And because Greg Cody would absolutely enjoy the general attention, applause, and everything of, and at the very end, I just threw it all up in the sky because I didn't know how I was going to end it. And that'll do. Like, just the glorious, like flames in the sky. I'm a national figure. I'm a sports columnist who matters. I've entered the gender wars, and I'm for free speech, men, women, everybody, and you cannot censor me.
Follow me, everyone.
I insist on covering the Indiana fever.
It's just him and Doyle.
You must give me my right, my constitutional right to cover the fever.
He did in the 1800s. That was a pandemic that swept the middle of the country. He was there, documenting it firsthand.
But okay, Greg.
Not a single smirk from my
He's
dad.
not. No,
He's not happy.
he's enraged.
Right.
He's enraged
I'm
right
not
now.
enraged. I'm disappointed.
Well, you,
I mean,
you once had a go at Dan for being too look at me for the Hall of Fame vote. This was when he was an active journalist, not a former one. Don't you think that would be a little look at me? And this is all understanding that this is all a hypothetical.
I can only speak for myself.
And Gregg Doyle.
Don't do the whole spiel again.
If what is happening to Gregg Doyle was happening to me,
Right.
You would have stubbornly fought it.
I would not sit quietly,
You would quit.
serve my suspension, and come back under the rules that I am banned from covering this team and this woman because of what I did, which I don't think was. I think it was a journalistic misdemeanor. And what I said before is very important. You have a personal conversation with Caitlin Clark, and how she feels about it matters. Okay, if she's so upset that she doesn't want to deal with Gregg Doyle, that's a different matter. If she's forgiving,
But are you okay then if you're getting banned in this hypothetical? Now
then I
because-
would understand. Then I would understand.
For what it's worth, like jokes aside, I side with Greg. Cody. In that, if Gregg Doyle,
clarification.
I would actually enjoy to hear Gregg Doyle's perspective going forward after going through this and seeing how he can evolve with it. I don't think that we should close him off from
Thank
it.
you.
This goes back to the Pacers series of yesteryear. I don't like Gregg Doyle one bit, but I understand though that it's a different thing.
It is.
than if you did it.
I want to make clear to the audience that the part of this that I'm focusing on is not whether I agree or disagree with Greg. Punishments are subjective. All punishments
Which
are
Greg?
subjective. Again, Greg Cody.
One
and-
with one G or a mohawk.
hypo-
Well, that's
the
the
Greg's
thing.
cutting it up.
It's a Greg with two G's. It's Greg Cody has
Yeah.
spoken out against.
Which he
in the
looks
past.
down, yeah.
I do
And
look
isn't the
down
Y
on
like in
double
the
G
middle
Greg.
of it?
Yes.
That's very
Yes,
confusing.
that is
so
weird.
it's Doyle.
You're
Yeah.
defending a
Weird.
double G, Greg?
I am in this
wow.
case.
Oh, wow.
I challenge Dan Le Batard to tell the audience whether or not he agrees with me
Wow.
that the punishment
Wow.
of Gregg Doyle should stop at the suspension and should not bar him from continuing to write
This
about
is getting
Now the
interesting.
Someone's about to be weaponized by the right.
Oh, wow.
All right, let's go ahead and play the sound of Greg Cody
Whoa,
stammering
wait,
through.
somebody didn't
Deflected.
Classic
I mean,
former journalist.
Wow.
Jesus.
Put it on the side. Put it on the side because you've caught me toward the end of a break here. You have maneuvered me into a position where you're unlikely to be aggregated and I'm very likely to be aggregated.
Let's
and
keep it
so
that way.
I wanted to keep it on the hypothetical Gregg Doyle that you were, when you asked me who do I agree with, Greg, it's the Greg Cody that's acting as the hypothetical Gregg Doyle who's trying to avert punishment.
He pulled a U-turn.
He really did. I should ban those around here. I should ban the U-turn around here because you have positioned this now in a place where I have to maneuver and gather my thoughts on
Yes.
this and Butker, which I've promised for several segments to talk about. So if I'm going to get aggregated, I'm going to do it next.
You're wearing a wing.
I am so tempted here because I don't want to actually not give people the conclusion to this show they desire, which is me answering Greg Cody's question and risking being aggregated here by answering his question. I want to do that. I do. But I don't feel good about doing it not in costume. How does the group feel about holding me to, I have a punishment yet to pay, holding me to, I will get to Greg Cody's commentary tomorrow as soon as the show starts, but it's to be in costume to see if indeed I can get in trouble that way as opposed to right now and just wasting one of these. I don't want to avoid it, though. If you guys think
what
that's
an odd excuse.
It seems like you kind of do want to avoid it.
We need to get this costume thing reined in because this is ridiculous. You want me to ask you to do this in costume?
He doesn't want to do it.
You don't want me.
You'd really be twisting his arm by making
Mike,
him
a little
do
thing
this.
I like to call buying himself time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He just wants to wear a costume badly.
I will do it now. If you guys want me to do it now, that's fine.
No.
I think I think it should be Greg's decision and Greg's decision alone. I do.
Why? Because he had a take?
I mean, you turn.
Give it some thought here, and I will get to this other story before I get to that one. Because Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, he has bashed Pride Month. He has told women to stay in the kitchen, according to a headline I'm reading here, an article by Doug Farrar. He was doing a commencement speech at Benedictine College in Kansas, and he called Joe Biden delusional and is talking about abortion in a way that is very religious. Oh, you guys have the sound here. Okay, I was just going to read the quotes, but you guys have the sound. So go ahead.
We have some sound.
I'm being introduced to the thoughts of Harrison Butker here in his own voice. Let's hear it.
To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture. And when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men.
Okay, wow, that's not even in the quotes that I'm reading here.
Wow.
I think it is you, quote, this is a quote here from Harrison Butker. I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say her life truly started when she started living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today, able to be the man that I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Not the deadly sins. He went on to take a shot at Pride Month. Not the deadly sins sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify Him. And I will just tell you again and again that there is a lot of hatred tucked into the pages of the Bible and espoused as religion. And I know that this is where the division lies in our country. This man is speaking at a college, and I don't know if it's half the country, but a lot of the country agrees with what he says, finds him to be a freedom fighter, and then the next thing you know, a woman loses the rights to her body because the man is in charge, and the man has always been in charge, and then it gets tucked into the pages of the Bible, however it is you rationalize and moralize away, taking away the rights from others to their own body in the name of serving the man and saying it's to serve God. And I know a lot of people agree with the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, thinking that he is doing something brave here by saying it is the man who must be served so then the union could serve God. I was raised in that church My mother helped so many women bring life into this world that they were going to abort. My mother worked in an anti-abortion clinic. This is the place. I shouldn't call it an anti-abortion clinic. I should say it is a religious entity that was servicing the needs of finding money wherever they could so that women could have babies that might not have babies because of poverty or an assortment of issues.
You know, after hearing you talk about it, we've caucused. You should have done this in costume.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You should have.
So if we're kicking the can on the Gregg Doyle conversation, Exhibit A, you doing this without a costume? I'm saying bring on the costumes.
Yeah.
So you think I should do this over tomorrow?
We'll just do it again.
Just
Don't do it over.
Just do the whole thing again. Just do it again. Well, that is doing it over.
Well, we got this
I
one.
know. Yeah.
Maybe the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So a worm was eating his brain?
It was dead, I think.
We've got 3.
But did it die after it ate some of his brain?
Unclear.
We've got 3 presidential candidates with brain damage, 3 different forms. One, dementia.
Allegedly.
One is a dead brain worm, and the other one is whatever the hell is going on with Trump.
Things seem to be going great. Costumes would make everything better.
But the schedule is out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait till
The
tomorrow.
Knicks play a big game tonight, incidentally.
I don't agree with what Harrison Butker said.
Same, for the record. Greg?
Yes.
Well, we're an echo chamber. I think from
My dad say yes.
He said yes, like he was supporting.
I don't agree.
Can't tell with you anymore.
Yes, I don't agree. Yes, I don't agree. We need something that is a sound that is actual echo chamber, like that just starts echoing here. All right, let me answer the question.
In our echo chamber.
Wow.
Echo chamber in Florida.
Without a costume.
Let me answer the question that Greg Cody asked. Wow. There is no circumstance under which anyone is telling me what to write, what I can or cannot write about. If you place this hypothetical in front of me with all of the variables for Greg Cody, where he can retire on that note and get the attention and the applause and the clicks that he wants from retiring on that note, I would consider the grandstand play of how could I theatrically do this in the maximum look at me fashion of principled guy who goes out on the wrong side of the popular issue of the day by fighting for that penalty is too harsh. I would do something similar to what it is that Greg Cody is doing because it's a hell of a dismount and it's kind of amazing that I could file it under the principle of no one tells me what to write.
But you would do it in costume.
Yeah, as Patton.
The grandest of the costumes.
What kind of costume would I wear? I'm thinking some sort of
George Washington on the river.
What's your hierarchy of costumes where you're like, that's too much? I
Complete
need
with
that
boat.
for like a really big moment.
You would build the boat into your costume.
I don't have. It would just
like
be
there's some, like sometimes you see like you're going shopping or whatever, and you're like, you know what, that's nice, but like this isn't the right occasion for that. That I need to do like a wedding, or like you're looking at like, oh, when you're younger, like, I'll wear that to prom.
Or
Like,
a new
what is
Supreme
your
Court
costume
justice.
that's out that you're like, I can't wear that for a Wednesday on the show, but I can for this giant moment in my life.
Jimmy Carter.
Greg Cody is writing me a note for some reason instead of speaking into a microphone saying you evaded answering.
Yes, you did. You did not answer my question.
How did I not? What is the question? Let's do it
He
right
said
now.
me maximum, essentially.
Why'd you write that down?
Let's do
He
the.
just
let's-
evaded my question
I didn't
too.
know whether he wanted me to belabor it. Okay, let me ask you this as specifically as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Oh wow! Wait a minute.
No,
Harrison
that's
Butker.
fair. You told him that.
Harrison
He's asking.
Butker, yes or no?
Yes or no?
Commissioner, yes or no?
The Indianapolis Star is justified barring Gregg Doyle from any future columns
no,
about
they are justified.
Caitlin Clark.
They are justified with that, just as ESPN would be justified in banning Patrick Beverley like they did, because all of these entities can make their own rules for what the punishments are. I thought your question is, what would I do if the newspaper did that to me?
That's my question.
I thought that's what your question was.
Okay, so you think Gregg Doyle deserves to be banned from ever writing about Caitlin Clark?
But Gregg Doyle, again, is a recidivist. It's not just this one thing with a body of work and apology and everything else. Like,
what would you do? What would you do? If the same thing happened to you, what would you do?
If the Miami Herald said that I could not write something, what I would do is come on this program in a George Washington costume that had a boat attached to it, and I would absolutely lean into, yeah, I know I'm wrong, but I'm going to go out as if I'm fighting for the principled right of free speech here.